We're going to be dealing with something we've never dealt with before. We're creating these alien beings. We just don't know what's going to happen. We've created alien beings smarter than ourselves. Present, we don't know how we can guarantee we'll stay in control. It's so good for so many things that we're not going to slow it down.
Do you think AI will become conscious?
Yes.
A 12-year-old boy running through sheets of cold English rain. The year is 1924. His tie's crooked, shoes soaked, but his grip on that little notebook never loosens. Inside, sketches of gears, puzzles, equations, like tiny maps to another world. From the doorways, voices echo. Freak! Oddball. He doesn't look back. He's not escaping them. He's chasing something bigger, machines that could think. This isn't a scientist yet. This is Alan Turing. A boy misunderstood by a world that feared what it couldn't define.
Turing was a mathematician, cryptographer, and pioneer of computer science, whose life was one of secret triumphs shadowed by public tragedy.
While others played marbles, he played with logic. While others fit in, he questioned why things had to fit at all. He dreamed in circuits before circuits existed. He saw patterns where others only saw chaos. But dreams like his rarely end with applause. They end in irony and heartbreak. Because today, 71 years after his death, we remember the father of artificial intelligence. Not the myth, the man, his genius, his loneliness, and the apple that became both his symbol and his curse. Alan Turing, born 1912, in a world that loved rules and hated questions. But Alan was different, soft-spoken, awkward, brilliant. He'd rather talk to numbers than to people. Why speak, he'd say, when I can think?
Born on the 23rd of June 1912, Turing spent his childhood split between Hastings in Kent and Sherborne in Dorset.
At 16, he was reading Einstein before bedtime. At 24, he gave birth to an idea that would outlive us all. The Turing Machine. Not a physical box, but a mathematical ghost. A concept proving that any problem, any calculation, could be broken into steps, symbols, logic. The invisible heart that beats inside every computer today. Then came the call to arms. World War II. Across Europe, the Nazis had a secret weapon, the Enigma machine. A cipher so complex, it swallowed Allied messages whole. To most, it looked impossible. To Alan Turing, it looked like a challenge.
For many years before the Second World War, the German military had been using a cipher machine called Enigma to encrypt their secret messages.
At just 27, he arrived at Bletchley Park, Britain's hidden fortress of codebreakers. While others stared at chaos, Alan started building order. He didn't just break Enigma, he outthought it. He built the bomb, an electromechanical giant, gears spinning like restless ideas, decoding 3,000 enemy messages a day.
It's beautiful. It's the greatest encryption device in history, and the Germans use it for all communications.
Everyone thinks Enigma is unbreakable.
Let me try, and we'll know for sure.
His machine didn't fire bullets, it fired truth. Every decrypted signal saved lives, rerouted ships, turned tides. Historians say his work shortened the war by at least 2 years. Millions spared, D-Day made possible. But while the world fought on battlefields, Alan fought in silence, under dim lights, half-eaten apples by his desk, sleeping beside machines that seemed to breathe with him.
We're going to break an unbreakable Nazi code and win the war. Oh. I'm designing a machine that will allow us to break every message, every day, instantly.
From a boy with a rain-soaked notebook, he had become the war's quiet savior. His rise was complete. But in stories of brilliance, tragedy often waits just beyond the light. For Greek heroes, it's pride. For Alan, it was love. The war was over. He was 39, living quietly in Manchester. Then a burglary, a routine police visit, and then the truth. He loved a man.
Don't fancy her in that way.
Can't tell anyone, Alan. It's illegal.
Unfortunately, his work was classified by the British government, and years later, the government found out that he was gay, and it was illegal to be gay at that time.
In post-war Britain, that wasn't love. It was gross indecency, a crime. The same nation he helped save put him on trial. Not as a hero, but as an outcast. The judge gave him a choice, prison or therapy. He chose the latter, chemical castration, injections of estrogen that warped his body. His once lively frame softening, his mind dulled. The man who built thinking machines was being slowly unmade by his own country. He built machines that could think, but lived in a world that couldn't feel. His security clearance revoked, his friends gone, his purpose erased. He retreated into fairy tales, stories of Snow White and the poisoned apple. He saw himself in her, a mind punished for curiosity, a dreamer killed by knowledge. June 7, 1954. Morning light drifts into his home in Wilmslow. Alan, age 41, lies beside his bed, a half-eaten apple at his side. Traces of cyanide in his blood. No note, just silence. They called it suicide. But it felt more like the world's betrayal. The man who cracked Enigma was cracked open by cruelty. And here's the cruel poetry. That bitten apple. Some say it wasn't coincidence. That decades later, when Steve Jobs named his company Apple, the logo, bright bitten, was a quiet tribute. A symbol for the man whose dream gave birth to modern computing. A bite that ended one life and began the digital age. The myth still whispers. Through forums, TED Talks, Wired essays, it's emotional gold. The fruit that tempted Eden's seeker of knowledge, poisoned Snow White's dreamer, and now glows on the empire built from Turing's ideas. 3 apples, each reshaping destiny. One forbidden, one fatal, one bitten into innovation. But here's the truth. It wasn't meant to be. Designer Rob Janoff, 1977. The bite? For scale. A pun on bite. No Turing tribute. And those rainbow stripes? Just a nod to color displays, not a pride flag. Still, the legend lingers because it feels right. It turns a cold brand into a quiet vigil for the queer genius crushed by convention. It wasn't intentional, but maybe it should have been. Because Apple and now AI owe their spark to his sacrifice. The irony bites deep. His Apple ended in tragedy, theirs in triumph. And decades later, the machines he once imagined now do think. ChatGPT finishes sentences, DALLE paints dreams. Neural networks evolve like the morphogenesis patterns he once scribbled in his notebooks. He dreamed of a world where machines could think. But it took those very machines to teach us how to feel human again. Turing gave birth to intelligence without emotion, but his story reminds us, intelligence without empathy will always destroy itself. Today, AI writes our words, paints our visions, even speaks in our voice. Yet the man who dreamed it all couldn't finish his own story. Redemption came slowly. 2009, Prime Minister Gordon Brown apologizes. 2013, a royal pardon. 2017, the Turing Law clears thousands of names once branded like his. In Manchester, his statue now sits, calm, thoughtful, notebook in hand, facing the future. That letter of apology arrived 59 years too late, but perhaps somewhere in the code he was already forgiven. From a rain-soaked boy to the code that powers the cloud, Alan Turing's fingerprint lingers still. Maybe the apple wasn't bitten for him, but every byte of code, every spark of AI still carries his DNA. The father of artificial intelligence didn't live to see it, but maybe, just maybe, his creation still remembers him. If Alan's journey moved you from bullied boy to bittersweet legend, like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. What if machines could feel? From Nausta Lab, the Nautical Archive for Universal Zenith Technological Association. Stay dreaming, thinkers. The puzzles aren't solved yet.
Alan Turing asked the question that changed history. Can machines think? We answered it, and in doing so, we built something else. Machines that don't just think, but lift, fly, protect, and fight. The intelligence Turing imagined now lives inside metal frames, inside exoskeletons worn by soldiers and patients, inside jet suits that let humans leave the ground, inside AI systems that guide, predict, and decide. From minds to muscles, from code to armor. The boy who dreamt of thinking machines unknowingly opened the door to augmented humans. So the next question isn't about intelligence anymore, it's about power. What happens when thinking machines wrap themselves around the human body? That story continues in our next video. How close are we to building a real Iron Man suit? Not cinema, not fantasy. Real exoskeletons, real fight, real limits.